Anyway, we'll look at the history also after some time. Did Krishna talk about Gyan or Dhyan? Dhyan. D. Oh, Gyan. What is Gyan? I know in northern part of the country, too much Gyan is going on everywhere. Too much talk about Gyan is going on everywhere, not Gyan. See, Gnan, the word Gnan, literally means to know. To know life and the root of life, the source of life, the way it is. Knowing can only happen with perception, not with stories, not with teachings, not with philosophies, not with dogmas, not with belief systems. Knowing can happen only by perceiving. So uninterrupted clarity in your perception is Gyan. You believe Atman, Paramatman, God is like this, heaven is like that, my soul is in the form of a yak and this and that. This is not Gyan. This is fairy tale. If you like fairy tales, don't listen to the Gyan teachers, at least read Asterix. Yes. Because even the stories are horrible what they're telling you. They're not even good. You won't get to any Gyan by listening to somebody about the nature of the existence and about the nature of God and creation, the nature of hell and heaven. You will not get any Gyan. All you're getting is fairy tales. Gyan will happen only when you take away the fetters of your perception, that you have absolute clarity to your perception, uninterrupted, without any distortion you're perceiving. If you have to perceive without distortions, first of all, what is it that is causing distortion to our perception? Your perception is distorted only because you're identified with something. You're constantly identified with something. The more identified you are, the more wonky your perception is. People who are deeply identified with their family, with their community, with their country, do you see how much nonsense they speak with how much confidence? Do you see? People who are very deeply attached either to their family or community or caste or creed or nation, do you see how much absolute nonsense that even a child can see it is nonsense, but they will speak it with such vehemence and confidence? Have you seen this? It's happening all the time in the world. So the distortion of perception has happened only because of your identification. The identification is spread over many things in the world, but it is rooted in your body. The moment you get identified with the physical nature of the existence, then everything else multiplies. If you're not identified with this, you will not be identified with anything. So the whole science of yoga is just focused on that, somehow to take away the identity from the physical body, you know. What all these people are doing is just to break that. They're working with the 5 elements. This is the Bhuta Shuddhi. Because the constituent ingredients to make the body is the 5 elements. So on that micro level, yoga functions that you disidentify yourself from the basic 5 elements which make your body. Once you're not identified with the 5 elements which make this, you're not identified with anything physical in existence. The whole physicality of the world has happened only with the play of 5 elements. Once identification comes, distortion is natural. You are deeply identified with something and you're seeking a spiritual process, listening to somebody else's stories, you will get more and more distorted. So initially, you are not able to simply exist here without identification. You have no such awareness in you to simply be here without any sense of identity. So that's the whole thing the spiritual process means. Take off all the identifications and put all your identification in one place. See, if you, let's say, identify yourself with your family and start living, after some time, if you grow out of it, they are not going to let you go. Initially, it was necessary for you, you got identified with the family. After some time, you became more aware and you want to go beyond that. They are not going to let you go. The Indian crab, you know. No way are they going to let you get out of the basket. They'll pull you down. Because it's an insult and an affront to another person that when he is still living in limitations and you talk about transcendence, nobody can stand it. That means somewhere you become something beyond what they are. They cannot stand that. Because after all, family is a self-interest group. It's a little mafia that you start. You know the mafias call themselves family, always? Yes? 2 people partnering to fulfill each other's needs. Big bad world. You and me, we are there for each other. It's a little mafia. So from there it generally tends to grow and get more complex. So if you suddenly become realized and you want to transcend, even Gautama has to walk away in the middle of the night like a thief. Such a graceful human being. His wife should have given him the freedom to tell her, see, I need to go. And she should have put a garland on him and said, you go, you're going for such a purpose. Many people who are in the ashram, some of them brahmacharis, some of them otherwise, a few of them have had this fortune that in their homes when they said, say, I have such a longing, I need to go. Their parents, their relatives really celebrated that event and sent them very gladly. They are the fortunate ones. All the others have to fight a filthy battle at home because it gets so filthy. If you turn spiritual, the home situation can get very filthy. They will really become downright mean and fight with you in all kinds of ways. So once this identification process begins, there is no end. So a spiritual person, a person with a spiritual intention, he is not yet free, he is not yet transcended this necessity for identification. He's still not gotten there where he can live absolutely free. So what he does is he consolidates his identification. Instead of having many identifications in the world, with his profession, with his caste, with his creed, with his family, with his friends and education, the club that he attends and the clothes that he wears and million things. Instead of that, he takes off all that and makes it one single identity. With his guru or with Krishna or with whatever. He just makes a single identification. The advantage of this identification is, even before you want to cut it, the other person is willing to cut it when it's necessary. There is no risk of the other person holding on to the identification when you have to grow. So shifting the identity to a one-pointed identity so that when the necessary situation arises within you to transcend, nobody else will hold you down. You are bad enough. You are a bad enough impediment by yourself. You don't need other people's help to block your way. You don't need other people's help to stop you from transcending. You're good enough. I'm not getting it right. You're good enough. You are capable of denying yourself truth endlessly for lifetimes. You don't need the help of your husband or wife or father or mother or somebody else to do this. You are just great by yourself. But suppose in this lifetime, you come to a point where you are no more an impediment. You kept yourself aside. But now somebody else should not stand in your way. So that's the reason why once a person has spiritual intentions, no matter where he's living, no matter what kind of situation he's living in, his only identification is with his guru, because the day you are ready for transcendence, definitely he will not come in the way. So it is rearranging your identities in a more sensible way so that it doesn't become destructive, it doesn't become self-defeating.
Sadhguru, can you elaborate on the Saligrama?
I'm sorry?
Can you elaborate on the Saligrama?
Oh, it's just a bar of a stone. I could show you a Saligram tomorrow and what it can do to people. You want to see a demonstration? Saligrams have, in the tradition, they say, in the Shiva culture, they say, wherever Shiva walked, all the stones and pebbles which came under his foot, which came under his grace, they started evolving, even stones. They say they took a whole one yuga. A yuga is supposed to be some 84,000 years or something like this. Does somebody know what's the number of years? 84,000 years, I think. It's a different way of measuring. This 84,000 has something to do with the human body. You know, there are 84 basic asanas to handle the different aspects of the body. So 84,000 years they evolved and became Saligram. So every round stone is not Saligram. It can be clearly felt if you take it in your hand and you're sensitive to these things. But sometimes the yogis broke the Saligram to show it to people. I will show it to you tomorrow. Inside the Saligram, a whole, you've seen that picture of expanding cosmos. Have you seen pictures of the galaxies which are going like this? Because the universe is constantly expanding. It's a never-expanding universe. So clearly etched symbol of this expanding, ever-expanding universe is etched into the Saligram inside naturally. So if you break a Saligram, you will see the inside it's a very powerful piece of stone. It can do miraculous things to people if they know how to use it. After the Dhyanalinga process, when my body was completely broken and it was no good for living in it, we used the Saligram extensively to restructure the system at various points. I will show you tomorrow just a simple stone, what it can do to somebody. So that is a Saligram, or in other words, saying that Krishna is born out of a Saligram and he evolved himself into this beautiful blue boy.
Sadhguru, talking about the Saligram, many of our houses have a Saligram. I have one in my house, it's in the altar, and it's been there since my mother's kept it there a few years back. And if it's something so powerful and so full of potential, how does one take care of it and how does one use it?
So if you go to any shop in front of a Shiva temple, you can buy 100 Saligrams. They are not Saligrams, they are just egg-shaped stones, pebbles. Children when they go to the beach or to the riverbank, they like to collect pebbles. Adults also. So there are thousands of stones like that there are millions of stones like that in millions of homes. Not all of them are Saligram. They are shaped like that because most stones get into that shape in the river as the water is flowing. This is a volcanic stone. But a genuine Saligram are very few. So if you like to play marbles, buy the glass ones, they're at least round and better. There may be emotion attached to it, so it's fine. It means something to you, it's okay. I'm not saying throw it away. You don't have to fear it because I'm quite sure you're not living under the grace of the Saligram. Because if you possess a Saligram, things will happen in a certain way. It'll overtake you. Life will go faster than you can run. It'll take you in a different direction. If it is, maybe it is. So anyway, bowing down to everything is good. You learning to bowing down to everything, looking upon everything lovingly is good. That's a beautiful stone what you have, but you want to deny it to him every day. It's wonderful. Do it. That will transform you. If you just learn to look at everything, it'll transform you. Yes. Whether you see a donkey or a cow or a buffalo or a stone, if you learn to look at everything like this, it will definitely transform you. Me talking like this to you, Radhe across the Yamuna is getting jealous about it. So Radhe got jealous that Krishna is paying so much attention to somebody else and there's no time for her. And when she goes back to him, when he goes back to her rather, she's angry. Not angry in a destructive way, angry in a way that will enhance the whole love play between them. So Krishna is always a game for this anger. He woos and cajoles her in so many different ways. But Dan just want to depict this to you.